All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you, Terry, for the lead-in. Thank you very much. And you guys and gals should know Terry's doing the Photoshop learning streams twice a week, Tuesdays and Fridays. You'll want to check those out. Great pleasure to have you here. Hey, Grungy65. What's up, Boy Fruit, Star Crunch, VR Spirit. Nice to see you. Hey, CBR. I'm a Big Daddy. Ihajo. Hello, hello. All right. So let people file in here. Ian Livesey, hey. Great to see you. All right. Elsie Finch. Oh, we got a great crowd here this morning. Threadstone, good morning. DDD64, quickly. All right, so much to talk about. So much cool stuff to talk about. So, hey, AMO6. So, as Terry mentioned, yes, for this first hour, actually, I'm going to be talking to you about, I'm revealing new features coming to the CC video apps that we will be debuting this week at NAB, the National Association of Broadcasters in Vegas. And hey, Stevie Ray, really nice to see you. It's been a while. And so you're really going to get a look here at some of the new things coming to Premiere Pro, After Effects, Adobe Media Encoder, and Audition. And hopefully I can squeeze it all in the first hour. So the first hour is going to be based around these new features that we just revealed. And in fact, Wednesday, if you go to adobe.com, if you go to some of our blogs, look around Twitter and all of our various social properties, you can find videos and more information on all of the features that we're revealing at NAB this week. And I'll be showcasing and cherry picking some of the more appropriate ones here for you. So I think you will enjoy this and get to see kind of what's coming and where we're going and how to really unleash that creativity and how to do even more and do it faster and more efficiently. And that's really what, one of the main goals of this next update is really just optimizing, right? Faster, better, more flexibility, easier on different types of devices. So we're gonna jump right in. We're in Premiere Pro. And this is perfectly timed. You're going to hear as I'm talking about a lot of these new things, a lot of this is stuff that I've been doing over the past couple of weeks without these new features. And you can see, and you'll get to see now how much better the process will be once I have these new features in my hands. So this stuff is just, again, this is a reveal. It's not out yet. You can't have it yet. It's coming soon. All right, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is a new ingest and proxy workflow. And let me explain what I mean by that. So today, editors, as you know, we've been talking about it, they're working with larger media all the time, whether it's 4K, 6K, 8K for an acquisition file. You can see we're working with some R3D media here. All of this, I believe, is in 5K. And you've seen me on my laptop here on the stream talk about editing this stuff. Finch wants it now. And thankfully, we have things like our Mercury playback engine and fractional playback resolutions, which allow us, even on slower systems, to basically just drop the viewable resolution non-destructively so that I can get real-time playback, right? And that's great, and that's wonderful, and that's how I'm able to edit 4K and 6K on a laptop without any additional hardware fluidly. But again, as we move into this new domain of Ultra HD and beyond, 4K is now the standard, right? Most of our phones can shoot 4K. It really has replaced kind of certainly SD and even 720p. You're still seeing a lot of 1080p HD, but 4K is the new standard. It's the new baseline, and we need to be able to work with that more effectively, more efficiently, and we need to be able to scale that so that we can work with it on lighter weight devices, right? You're seeing a lot of Surface Pro, Surface Book, these kind of convertible tablet devices, convertible to half tablet, half laptop type devices. And we need to kind of be thinking about this. This is the way that people are doing stuff. You saw me do a whole thing with Adobe Premiere Clip not long ago. So this new ingest and proxy workflow is really kind of reimagined in Premiere. Now, some of the things that I'll show you, you will have seen in Prelude, but this is all new coming to Premiere now. And again, it's kind of a reimagined way of doing this. So here we have this project, and what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to go into the project settings. Now, you will see these same dialogues if you were to start just a new project from scratch. But when I go into project settings, you'll see that there's three tabs that you'll be able to access here. Now, general and scratch disks, you had those all along. This is where you've seen me select things like our renderer for GPU acceleration. But the new tab is this one here, Ingest Settings, okay? Now, when you go into the Ingest Settings dialog, you'll see that you've got basically 4 options here. So the first is to just simply copy your media. So now, again, this is keeping you right in Premiere. You shoot something, you'd rather have 4 times the frame rate than the resolution. Yes, there's a lot of truth to that, Finch. So you can just copy the media directly from your card and stick it someplace. Okay. Sometimes we do that. You've seen me do that in Prelude. And then there's transcode. Okay, so I don't want to work with R3D, or I want to unify R3D and MP4 and MXF. I want everything in kind of a house format that everyone's going to use, everyone in my post-production facility. So then you can individually just transcode. Or you can simply create proxies. And again, proxies are basically lightweight versions, typically a flavor of ProRes or maybe H.264. Lighter, smaller, much easier to use on a lightweight device or a laptop to basically do your edits, and then you have the ability to relink them to the high resolution media later. But the one that we think that most people are going to go to immediately is this one here called Copy and Create Proxy. Now when you choose that, you're going to get a whole series of presets. Now these are just some of the ones that you're seeing now. You will probably have more inside the app once this version ships, and you can see we can go to flavors of ProRes, DNX HD, you've got your GoPro Cineform here, and Boyfruit is saying 4K VFX scares me, and it shouldn't, my friend. It really shouldn't, especially with what I'm showing you now, and especially what you're going to see in After Effects. The After Effects stuff, the stuff they've done under the hood in After Effects is really unbelievable, and it's really going to change the way you work immediately. And we've already seen some of that with some of the improvements that have been made. So now again, we could choose something like H.264 here at 720p, 23976. Whatever you desire, whatever flavor you want, you choose your preset. Then you choose your primary destination. Now, this is for copying the master media. Where do I want that to go? Well, you can again tell it wherever you want it to go. But the proxy destination is where this starts to get really, really interesting. Wang Chung, awesome. All right, listen carefully. So again, proxies, lightweight. Think if you're working on something like a Surface Book or a Surface Pro, or just a MacBook Pro laptop or a smaller format laptop, and we're working in 4K, 6K, you know, maybe I'll take those proxies, those low-res H.264s, and store them in something like my Creative Cloud sync folder. And the idea here being that this way, those lightweight files, they're easy to access, they're significantly smaller than your RED media, than your MXF media, and no matter where you are accessing your apps via Creative Cloud, you'll always have access to this media. So it doesn't have to be the CC file storage folder, but you get the idea, right? It's this idea that we can be mobile. We can access the content, even if it was sourced at 4 or 6K, in the cloud, in Creative Cloud, and work more efficiently. Super, super cool, super easy. And the thing is, we've always kind of just left it up to the editor to tell Premiere, you know, here's where the media is. We have to now relink this. But here in this new ingest domain, we're setting all this up ahead of time to make it very easy, very fluid, very flexible, and best of all, when you create this proxy workflow, the ability to switch between the low res and the high res is instantaneous, and it's truly a single button click. So we set this up, we click OK. Now I've already created an ingest timeline for you that actually already has media. So I'm just very quickly going to bring my project panel up here. We're going to switch into the list view, which we don't do all that often. Hey, DD64, Penta Penguin. Oh, I'm so glad you caught it too, man. There is so much cool stuff to see in here. All right. So you'll see, again, as I reveal this piece of footage in the project, let's just go over here. You can see we're pointing to this clip right here. I'm just going to zoom in for you. It's R3D, we can see the video codec, right? So it's red. And you can also see this new column here for proxy, telling us that we have proxies attached. Now at this very moment, I'm actually playing this timeline or working this timeline in full 5K, just running off of my laptop. And that may not be the most ideal for me editing like this. So instead now, you'll notice that there's a couple of new buttons added to the button editor. And if I come down over to our program monitor here, and you'll see these in both source and program. The one I want you to pay attention to is this one right here, and we'll get to some of those others later. So by enabling this button now, this is going to turn on those proxies. And now, when I come up to my sequences here, you can actually see that it's now telling me that the proxies are enabled on all of these timelines, all right? Pretty sweet. So now, basically, I've got 5K and or 6K or 4K or whatever, 8K playing back, running smoothly on my laptop, okay? And I'm doing my cuts, I'm doing my edit, I'm scrubbing through all my media, and you can see how fast this is. Again, I can shuttle through this very efficiently, very easily, but if I want to go back to color correction, I want to do something that requires me to see every pixel, see it at its full depth, now I can simply go back here, unclick that button, just a quick scroll here because we've got a little UI thing happening, and now we're back to the native media playing the native 5K in the timeline. There's no relink, there's no can you do this, there's no dialogue, there's no anything. It just happens, right? So easy, so simple. And you can imagine, I'm somewhere, I'm at my office, Finch just signed up, sweet. You know, I'm at my office, I'm at another studio, I'm editing, I've got my proxies, my 720p proxies of a small timeline, it's in Creative Cloud. I'm editing it there. I go home, I get to my desktop, I resync. Now I want to relink everything, or I want to keep working via those proxies. Boom, everything syncs up easily. I can relink instantly, easily. It's a fantastic way to work. And it's really a reimagined workflow for proxy and ingest. Now, the other cool thing about this, of course, is all leveraging Adobe Media Encoder. So Adobe Media Encoder now is a larger part of the story, whereas before, and I'll just kind of play this through so you can really see some of this cool footage that was shot. This is from a film called Cascada. Adobe Media Encoder is now an integral part of the ingest, import, and export process, right? Traditionally, and you've seen me do this over the last few weeks, I always go to Media Encoder at the end, right? That's where we're kind of delivering our final. But now, it becomes part of the import process, part of the ingest process. And it's worth mentioning, too, that you saw before there those presets inside the ingest settings here. You can add ingest presets and create more presets in Media Encoder to add them to here, to share them with others, to share them outside of your organization. You can even build an ingest preset. Imagine you're creating proxies and you want to watermark those proxies. Well, you know that inside the Media Encoder, you have the ability to do things like overlays. So you could create a proxy preset that adds an image overlay or your company or name watermark, right? So if you're going to be distributing, doing dailies and things, and you want them watermarked and labeled for protection, you can do that very, very easily, right? Finch, the Media Encoder logo irks you. All right, people are listening. We've got Adobe people in the room right now. They're listening. Oh, CBR, if this only existed when your old MVP was all you had, right? Well, and that's the idea, you know, regardless of what system you're coming to or from, Craymaster loves it. It rocks. Wang Chung agreed. Yes, yes, yes. Letters, graphics, you love the overlay. Very easy to set this up, very easy to move quickly. And as you're ingesting, let's assume you're copying from a media card, you can still actually pull the media from the card. You can edit while ingesting, and then when the ingest is done, it'll immediately switch over to the copied media or to the proxy, and you just keep on working. It's seamless. There's no change in the process to you at all. You just keep going, staying in that creative flow. All right? Is there a handoff between Prelude and Premiere's new ingest? So no, Finch, in this case, not at all. And what you're seeing here, this is specific now. This workflow that you're seeing is truly Premiere Pro and AME. Now, we may see some of that come over to Prelude, but the idea is here, we're really, again, even reimagining how Media Encoder flows through all of these applications, not just on export. And you're going to see more of this when we hit Audition a little bit later, okay? All right, so this is so cool. I've already been kind of working with this and using this, and I must tell you, it's as awesome as you can imagine, especially when you're trying to work with 6K, you know, on a laptop, and I mean, one click, you're in proxy. No, there's no difference to you. You cut, you're scrubbing, everything's great. Click back, export, full res, beautiful. All right. Oh my God. A7 Mos, hello from Egypt. Yes, good to see you too. We were just working on some of that Egypt footage a week ago. All right. Hey Toms, do I have Instagram? I do. You can find me on Beetlejace. I don't publish too much there. So, but yes, I do have an Instagram there. Okay, so the next thing we want to talk about is a workflow based around our Adobe Stock workflow. And you've seen me dip a little bit into Stock on some of the streams here. I'm just going to drop our master volume here. All right, so we're going to get into Stock here. Hold on, I'm just going to, I have to make sure I can get through all these features. All right, we got 15 minutes in. All right. Okay, so, oh, and one more thing, since I'm already here, you'll notice our beautiful scopes. These two have been redesigned, higher resolution, more detail. Let me just pull up our YUV scope as well. You'll notice several new options in here to instantly change the color space. So this is something that you have all been asking for quite some time now. You'll see that you can change the color space on your scopes. And here's a feature that we borrowed directly from SpeedGrade, the ability to simply dim the brightness of your scopes, right? If you're kind of in a darkened environment or you're working with very, high contrast, detailed footage, you don't want your scopes to be overtaking your program monitor. So again, this is a feature that we borrowed directly, and we heard this from all of you who work in color and have been grading in Premiere and leveraging the new Lumetri panel here. So you now have new scope options, and they just look beautiful, and yeah, so real time. I mean, that's the other thing too. They're so fast in real time. Do you guys remember? You guys and gals remember scopes? Finch loves them. Do you remember what the old scopes looked like? they were like not as elegant, right? DDD64, your computer won't scream bloody murder when trying to edit in high def. Yes, it won't. Yes. So yes, Hobots, you can find this again if you just go to if you search on NAB Reveal Adobe, you'll find it. If you go to some of the Adobe blogs@adobe.com, we just had a whole reveal press release about this. You'll find videos on the Creative Cloud and Adobe YouTube channels with short little videos explaining all these features in the ingest workflow that I just talked about. So, what do we think before we get into stock workflow? Thumbs up, we dig, we like. We see this becoming useful. Awesome. Yeah? Nice one, Finch. Okay, so I'm just going to turn off, because I'm running off of a bootable drive here. I like these two scopes. This is all I need. Okay, so we're working on this piece here. Again, we're looking at this Cascada footage. And I wanted to augment this timeline with some additional rainforest footage via Adobe Stock. And you may be aware that in January, or December rather, we announced 4K video in Adobe Stock. So I'm going to show you two quick things regarding Adobe Stock. So let's go over to the web first, and we're going to search on Rainforest 4K. Now, if you've never worked with stock imagery video before, the way that you acquire stock or search for it and the stuff that we've got over 50 million pieces of content, that's all pretty similar with everybody. What's different, though, is how we truly integrate Adobe Stock into these applications, not only in the way that you preview and download previews and work with the media, but also in how you license it. And this is really the fundamental difference and the reason that might entice you to want to get into stock video. So when I go into Rainforest 4K, you can see I can choose just video here. So we're going to click go on this. And it's immediately going to search and pull up a whole series of 4K and HD videos. All right, so here we go. Multiple pages of results found. Now I can just hover over these and you can see it's going to give me a quick real-time preview. All right, lots of cascading waterfalls and beautiful sights here. If I start to click around, and I'm trying to look for a couple shots that I might use as an intro, maybe something like this. If I click on one of these and expand it, it's now going to give me a little more detail, all right? So, okay, Wang Chung is saying, it's so hard to shoot, S-Log. Yeah, ND filters. Oh, thank you very much. In office, loves my hair. Thank you. Thank you very much. Having a pretty good hair day today, I might add. Thank you for that. So again, as we click and expand this, you can see not only the dimension, so this is proper Ultra HD, 4K, the bit rate, the codec. In this case, this one is ProRes at 2997, and the actual file size. Okay, so this is something to keep in mind too, friends. You know, when you're dealing with 4K, big, right? This is what we were just talking about. This is a 2 gig file, right? Because 4K is huge. The media is not getting smaller. The devices that we're working on are, but the media is not. And again, if we just kind of click through these, here's another one. This is motion JPEG at 30 frames, 4096 by 2303. Here's another one. If we click, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Click back here. Let's click on this one here. So this is an H.264 file. All right. Yeah, okay, I'm looking at Wang Chung. Yeah, I hear you, brother. So, okay, so at this point, what I could do is you can see you've got lots of different options here. I can choose to, oh, and we're seeing, it's funny, did I get logged out? I did get logged out. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna just re-log in so that you can see some of the options here. All right. Because you weren't seeing all the things I wanted you to see. I told you not to call me at work. I know, they're so rude. People running that phone. All right, there we go. Now I'm seeing all the stuff I wanted to see. So the first thing you'll see is that I, of course, have the ability to immediately license and save this to a Creative Cloud library folder. It'll access all the ones that I have once I'm logged in. We can also quickly save previews. Okay, now that in and of itself is nothing new. What I want to show you that's cool and super cool, though, let's go over to Premiere Pro now, and let's go into the Libraries panel. All right, and now in the Libraries panel, you'll see that I can also search Adobe Stock. Now again, this was added back in January or so. Let's do the same thing, Rainforest 4K. And I'm going to click on our search and do that. But you'll now notice under this little results drop down, now you have filtering options, okay? Woo, thankfully. We didn't have those earlier. Coming in this next release, you will now have the ability to filter these out. And now, of course, you can see all the same content here. And once again, you can download a preview to my library, or we can license it right here as well. So I've already gone ahead and done this. If I come up to my project panel here, let's go back into our list view, and I'm going to go into my Adobe Stock content. All right, I've already grabbed some of these. Let's go ahead and pull this up into the source monitor. All right, here's our Adobe Stock content, and I can simply click and drag this down into my timeline. By the way, something which I don't always remember to show you, and by the way, this happens to be 4K, but we're in a 5K timeline here. So I'm simply going to go into my effects controls and just scale this up around 135%. All right, like this to fit the frame there, and there we go. Okay, and we can expand this out to kind of fit the dead space there. All right, we're in 1/8 resolution at the moment because, again, I was working at 5K. Here's another clip that I grabbed earlier for you guys. And here we are into the red footage actually from the proper film. So kind of cool that we were able to find like a look and feel in the rainforest. I mean, that's something totally separate. I don't remember. This may be like Mexico or somewhere in South America. This is somewhere in Japan. Super cool stuff going on here. So again, really cool. Lots of flexibility, lots of options. Over 1 million pieces of stock video and over 50 million total pieces in Adobe Stock. So cool. All right. Oh, so Tomita has a question. Do you intrinsically effect translate correctly if proxy and source have a different resolution? Do I intrinsically effect translate? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. So again, now for me, I will typically keep the frame size the same when I'm making proxies. But yes, if you're asking, can we handle that? You definitely want to keep the pixel aspect ratios the same. But as far as the frame sizes, even if you're going to do proxies at something like a 720p as opposed to 2160p, one of the brilliant features that we added some time ago is the ability to instantly change the attributes, the frame size of your sequences very easily. So if you're removing things from sequences, not an issue. But again, you can still work with proxy media smaller proxy media inside of a larger frame size timeline. It will scale those accordingly. Yeah, so it will handle all of that for you if that's what you're asking. Very easily, very brilliantly, automatically. So very cool. Very simple to set up. They've really done a lot of work there, and it's only going to get better. I mean, you're really seeing a sneak at how this is going to work. All right. So again, I can implement some of the stock footage here. I can start to cut it around. I can drag it where I want. You can see how we can search for it and preview it here and download those previews. And then once I decide that I like this stuff, what you will then be able to do, now at the moment you're not seeing it enabled here because I'm still in a beta, it's not out yet. You will likely actually be able to license this directly from the timeline, and similarly you can also just license here directly inside the library panel. And just to kind of show you what some of these look like, let me just get rid of my search here. A licensed video will be indicated with a little check mark badge like this. It'll tell you that it's licensed. And again, when I click over to my licensed version, all of the same effects, filters, anything that I've done to this content will remain. So if I've added blur, if I've added Lumetri color, if I've done any kind of masking, everything that's been applied to that, once I license, stays there. Again, it downloads the full res 4K or what have you in the background. Done. You don't have to do anything else. And just to kind of show you that process real quickly, let me show. I want to just try and find something that has both HD and 4K 4K previews, because this is something cool that they did that I think is also very, very neat. And again, really kind of thinking ahead in terms of how this works. So this is aside from just 4K and bringing the filtering into the results here in both Premiere and After Effects. That's what's new coming to the video apps Mercenary, as well as the ability to hopefully license directly in the timeline. Again, the process is basically the same here. Now you'll notice when I chose to download that preview there, very cool. It asks me, do you want to download the preview in HD or in 4K? You can license either version later. So in this case, I would probably choose the 4K, again, to keep everything kind of similar or within the same kind of frame size. Now, if I've got proxies enabled, even when it brings those previews in, it can also make a proxy of that 4K watermarked video for me for this timeline too. All right. And then once I bring in the native media, it'll create the proper versions of that as well. So they've really thought ahead here and really allow you to do some very cool things with this very, very quickly. All right, so that's Adobe Stock Video. Again, the ability to search here, the ability to filter, the ability to license directly within the app. The same thing applies in After Effects. You saw a bit of this actually when I was at Adobe Max, right? And I showed you how I grabbed something from the library, dragged it into the program project panel, dragged it down into the comp, licensed it. All the changes that I made remain. It's the same concept here, all right? Very easy, very simple to start working with, and it works the same for whether you're doing images or vectors, what have you. Okay. So now let's talk about color. One of my favorite things, we've done a lot of streams around color workflows, and we've made yet even more improvements to the Lumetri color panel, which has only been out less than a year at this point. And, and the CBR saying if it was just proxies, you'd be happy enough. Yeah. And again, you know, it's just kind of the way that we're doing it. I think that really feels so elegant, you know? And what I think you'll enjoy about these couple of new additions here is that these also deal with a lot of things that we've been talking about. Now, last week when we were working on some of that Egypt footage, we were talking about white balancing. And I was saying how at present, Lumetri didn't have an easy way to automatically white balance. And I was still using the traditional Premiere Pro fast color corrector. Well, friends, no more. And I don't know if Terry is still on the stream. And are there AE stock project files that we can license, transitions and such, Craymaster? So you are not the first person to ask about that. Not yet. So we don't have project files, things of that nature in stock just yet. But we're listening. We've heard you. A lot of people have been asking for, like templates and things like that. So it's definitely on the list. And as you've noticed with Adobe in the last couple of years, really since the dawn of CC, these things are getting implemented faster and faster, coming from customer requests, because we can hear you in real time and deploy these things much faster because of the agile nature of delivering software in the cloud, right? Sounds like a lot of marketing, and it is, but it's true. All right, so white balancing, Lumetri. Why was it so difficult before today? Well, again, you can't have it yet, but it's coming. You've asked for it. We heard you. It needed to be in there. And if Terry White is here, he's gonna be clapping right now. The white balance eyedropper. Thank you. You had it in Lightroom. It should have been here all along. Grab your eyedropper. Let's go to kind of a neutral whitish gray on his shoe, and boom, instant white balancing in the timeline there. Okay. Oh, and here, let me just turn this down too. These all of these timelines are mixed pretty hot. So again, you can see, just very quickly, white balance the shot, real simple, real easy. Thank you very much. It's these little things, right? I didn't want to have to go to fast color. Now you still had, sort of other ways that you could manually adjust for white balance, but now you'll have the white balance eyedropper. Just makes life so much easier. Yes, I'm seeing, yes. Pam Vargas, hey, how are you? Nice to see you. Yes, everyone's loving that. Boy fruit. Yes. Yes. Okay. All right. So let's keep on moving. Oh my gosh, it's already 9:30. So if it was that alone, honestly, I'd probably be happy enough. But we took it even a step further. Now, I love this because we were just doing this. So you'll recall, just a few days ago, I was talking about secondaries, working with secondary color correction in Premiere. And once again, I was saying that at present, we didn't have anything in the Lumetri panel, but we still had secondaries. Most people didn't even know, still don't even know that you can do them today in Premiere Pro, but you have to access those secondaries through the... Why don't I just unplug that phone? Through the three-way color corrector. All right. Oh, good. It's always someone unavailable. Well, you no longer will have to do that in this next version of Premiere Pro that will be coming, because now you will see as we scroll down in the Lumetri panel here, second to the bottom, we now have HSL secondaries. Can I get a woot woot for that? Threadstone, this is epic. Dave Edwards, white balance at last. Oh no, Gizmo Tech, your stream died. Oh, it died because of the awesomeness. That's good. Okay. Yes. Yes, all cool. Everybody's digging that. Okay. Oh, now it's funny. I see, just to answer that. So, clarity slider Craymaster. Now, I've talked about this on other streams, and in talking to the engineer, so clarity, like Lightroom, is a very different thing because the way that it works and the way that it's kind of adding this kind of noise back in to add sharpness and dimension, it has to do a lot of individual frame sampling, which is why it works on stills, a little more difficult in the video domain. But we've been hearing this since the dawn of the Lumetri color panel for video. We hear you. So I can't give you an ETA, but we know that people want a clarity-like control similar to Lightroom or Camera Raw in Lumetri. So stay tuned. Again, we're making our way with these things. So let me show you now how easy it is to do secondary color corrections. And I'm going to focus on something which in this example, again, this is from this film by a man named Takahiro, and we want to change the color of his jacket. Okay, these are the kind of things, remember, we were talking about if I wanted to modify skin tones, or in this case, change the color of a jacket or a certain element in a frame. Prior to this new edition coming to Lumetri, it was very difficult to do this. Dave Edwards, any idea when these new updates will be available? So I believe we are saying midsummer of 2016, which is a little unfair to people in South Africa because our midsummer will be your winter. So, you know, within the next couple of months, okay? Soon. All right, you're already seeing the stuff working pretty well, so that should give you an idea. And if you think about our history recently, I smell the wood burning. You can kind of get a feel. But yes, summertime, very, very soon. And again, you're going to be premiering all of this at NAB this week. So his jacket is pink. What I'm going to do is you've got all of your ability to set the key here. All right. And, and hold on, I want to make sure I'm not missing anything here in the meantime. I actually have notes for a change, which is very uncommon, but so much to get through and so little time to do it in. All right, so basically we want to create a key here. You've got your eyedroppers, but I'm going to start, in this case, with this kind of pinkish magenta. And when I grab the hue slider now, very intuitively, as you'd expect, right away, it shows me the mask, showing me the key, and I can start to bring up the colors of the jacket here. All right, now that's pretty good. Of course, I've got to adjust the saturation here to pull out some of those things that we don't want, like his shirt and his hands and some of the skin tones there. All right, so we can modify this just by grabbing our saturation a little bit. All right, Midsummer Video Editor's Dream. That's very good and very comedic there, CBR. You are effectively on a roll today. All right, so pretty good there. And then just make a slight adjustment here. Okay, awesome. Now remember, one of the things that I love about Premiere is the signal flow. It makes sense. So first you set your key, which we've done. You can refine it by denoising or maybe just adding a little bit of blur, just a tad of blur on the edge of that. And now we can start to correct this. Now you can go to your standard color wheel here. You can go to a three-way color correction method here, or we can simply start playing around with things like the temperature controls, all right? So if we want to turn this more into a sort of bluer purple hue, something like that, or anything, it doesn't really matter, right? We're just modifying and make it extreme orange here, okay? Again, we can come into some of our color wheels here and just instantly start changing the color. Again, if I wanted to refine the key at any point in time, I can do that. Pull this out a little bit more. All right, looking better, looking better. You can see how fast it is. And as I go back to play this, it's smooth, it's beautiful, it's easy. Now, notice the shot before, he's got the same jacket. It's the same look. Ooh. Now remember, Grungy and Gizmo, we've got three-way, right? We've already got three-way. We've got a separate three-way color wheel here. This is solely part of the HSL secondary, right? Where you have this additional control. So what I want to do is I want to take the key that I created here on this clip, and I'm simply going to copy. Let's wind back to the previous clip here, and we're going to paste the attributes. And as you'd expect, because that key, because of those, what do we call it? Localized color clusters is how we used to refer to it in Photoshop. The key is applied, right? Secondaries made easy. Does it get any better than that? I mean, that's just like that compared to what we were having to do just last week using fast color corrector, right? Technicolor Dreamcoat with ease. Are we going to beat DaVinci Resolve? We're going to love DaVinci Resolve. So you'll be able to do this on proxies or your originals, Cameron. Of course, you know, for greater detail and selection. Now, I'm currently, as you can see, now you're not seeing the tooltip here, I'm working off of the native media now. If I switched over to the proxy, I'd still be able to pull this same key. But of course, you're working with lower res media, so you probably want to bounce over to the high res, pull your key. It'll work either way. And again, it's one click. We do it so fast. It's however you feel most comfortable, all right? Pam needs it now. Hey, Legacy. JC Suin, wow. The jacket is a lie. DDD64, awesome sauce. All right? Is there a global color for those? I'm not sure what you mean. Is there a global color? Do you mean is there a global setting? So again, we could paste that same key wherever those colors exist, and it would ultimately, effectively, probably create the same sort of look. If that's what you mean. All right, just a couple more things here before we have to move on to After Effects. We've got 23 more minutes of the reveal. Music later, yes. Can you keyframe? Yes, you can keyframe, but you can only do currently one secondary at a time. Now again, this will change over time, of course, but currently it's just one. But yes, just like all the parameters in Lumetri, when you have them applied, can be keyframed. Similarly, you can do the same there. Okay, so under Creative, I've talked a lot about this, using presets, using preset looks. Oh, and Herna, garnet color. Can you link corrections so a change in one shot connects to the others? Okay, so that's a great question because, you know, we do have property links in After Effects. Currently, to my knowledge, no property linking yet. Okay, again, this is kind of V1 of adding these in here. If that's not already on the request list, request it. I'm sure it already is. Again, because of the familiar workflow in AE. So great question, great addition. You guys are very, very active today. This is really awesome. Okay, did that answer you, garnet color? Okay. You can apply this to adjustment layers. Sure, why not? Okay. So presets, you will now see when you go into the Creative tab under Looks that we now have dozens and dozens of new speed looks. In fact, I believe we've now acquired all of the most recent speed look presets and brought them into here. So again, if I wanted to just add one of these onto my red clip, simply go ahead and add that. You've got your intensity slider capabilities. You've got your vibrance here. Again, if we were to go into our effects controls and twirl all this down, just as I was saying before, again, your ability to keyframe these changes. So I'm just showing you how, again, all of these various parameters are keyframeable. Okay, as you can see here. All right, so refining, color selection. All right, you get the idea. All right, so just lots more presets to work with. Okay, no one, I always say, Terry White is kind of, he's the one who really got me into this concept of loving and really appreciating good presets. We heard you. We didn't have any for years and years, and now we have more. And this is only after a couple of months. Like, that's huge. That's a huge thing for us because we heard you. You want to get creative with color, but you kind of need a starting point. You need a launching pad. This is a great way to do it. And again, we can go to sort of the before and the after. If we go into some of these other ones here, I mean, there's so many different different styles. Let's just try this blue intense. Yeah, that's kind of very intense. But again, you can always do a quick before and after to give you an idea of what that look is going to look like. A lot of film stock emulations here with a lot of flexibility, very nice sharpening. Again, your vibrance and saturation and all the other things that you have. CBR has an unnatural love for presets. And I gotta emphasize again, even at 1/8, I mean, that's the amazing thing too with this latest release, because everything is a little bit faster, a little bit more optimized. I'm actually working with the native media now, 5K, off an external drive, off of an external bootable, and it's still going. I mean, it's still playing back in real time, which is just kind of amazing. Kind of amazing to me. Nice. All right. A button for easy adjustment layers in the Lumetri panel would be amazing. Another good one, Finch. Now, you know, of course, you can't see it here. If I pull it back up, you know, you can always, of course, create your adjustment layer from the bottom. Oh, you're missing it there because my head is blocking it. From the bottom of the program panel or project panel, this little flyout here for adjustment layer or file new. But that's another good one. That may that may be on the list too of features to come. Oh, Gizmo, yeah, I don't know why your school isn't using Premiere. Complain. Nah, again, you know, and we're, as always, and I just say this just because you mentioned it, and I've heard some people mention FCP and Avid, you know, we can go to and from Final Cut, we can go to and from Avid, we can kind of go to and from everything these days, and this is really showing you the you know, further extensibility and extendability of everything we've got here. All right. So a little bit on speed looks. Okay, last thing in Premiere. One of the most exciting. Let's go back to our editing workspace. And it's something which you've probably heard about. Everybody's talking about it. And it is VR workflows. Today, VR is everywhere. You've probably seen it. You've probably heard it. And many people have already been actually editing and working with VR in Premiere Pro to date. With some limitations, but basically, whether you're shooting 360 video, and you probably get something that kind of looks like this after it's been stitched, 360 video on a cheap $350 camera, or you're using a 16 camera GoPro rig, even today, Premiere Pro lets you work with that stitched footage, but you never really had a way to be sort of inside the sphere. We didn't allow you to really see and look around and peek around in the space, or with some kind of external viewing device like an Oculus or something like that. And everyone, VR Spirit, yes, VR. Pam, VR is going to take over. Simon Walker, yes, VR. Oh, hey, Simon. How are you? Good to see you. Drum roll, Ian Livesey. Move my webcam. Oh, because it's in the way of the frame there. Sorry. Okay, I'll shrink this back. That's okay. And I may move my face just so that you can see it full screen once more in a second. Okay. So this is what we call an equirectangular frame. This is what you will often... this is what you will get once you stitch it all together. But I want to get an impression, really, and look around inside the VR here. So again, just like this, if I just kind of scrub through this video in the timeline, you know, nothing, I'm not really seeing anything here. But you will now notice inside the wrench menu that we, of course, have new settings for VR video. And the first is to be able to enable those, which is, of course, can also be found with this new button right here to toggle on the VR video display. So I can enable this here, all right? And let me just go back into my wrench menu and show you some of the options, the settings here. So now this particular content happens to be monoscopic. You can also work with stereoscopic. Now for today's demo, I don't have any stereoscopic footage to show you. I believe there's actually some online that you can see the way that that works. And you can do over, under, and then of course you can choose for your stereoscopic view, left, right, or actually even use an anaglyph view, which in terms of external viewing, you know, cheap $1 red eye, blue eye glasses will allow you to kind of audition that. We're working here in monoscopic. Let's change our vertical to around 120 degrees. Click OK on that. All right. And now let me go ahead and make this full screen. All right. And I'm actually going to remove my camera for a second so that I'm not in the way. Okay, like that. Now, immediately what you see, as you'd expect, of course, is that we've got these handles. So we can immediately start to tilt up and down, all right? So we're tilting up and down inside the sphere. We can, of course, pan in 360 degrees. All right, you'll also notice that you can also grab the wheel down here. You can also type individual coordinates here directly, okay? But more importantly, now again, I'm playing this back for you. This is a huge file, so I've got it in 1/8 resolution here. As you'd expect though, you can also do, oh, that girl just fell. Hold on, let me pick this back up. This is great. While it's playing, and let me just stop on that frame for a second here, you can also do the click and drag inside our viewer to really get a feel of everything around you. And even while it's playing back, you can click and drag around. The content is still playing, motion is still happening. I'm in 1/8 res here, but this just gives you even more flexibility to really allow you to experience essentially what that final delivered experience would be like to the customer. And with some of our third-party plugins like Metal, and that's M-E-T-T-L-E, not to be confused with Apple Metal or Metal by Pink Floyd, you have a means to actually use this externally through something like an Oculus or external viewer. And when you export this content, we provide the metadata flags to flag things like YouTube to understand this is 360-degree VR video. So ultimately, if you were to publish this up to YouTube, you could click inside and drag around, as you've probably seen in some of those YouTube videos, and you've got 360 content. And you can do this, you know, again, people are already doing it today, but the key is you don't even need super expensive cameras and gear to shoot it. Right? I mean, there's some cameras now for just a couple $100s that are capturing this stuff. And this truly is, this is the next wave. This is the next evolution. And the key thing that I want you to take away here is we're there. We're ready. Okay? We're moving forward with this. And we're making it easier. And it's only going to get better. Better and better. Sick. Pam loves it. Penta Penguin. It's beautiful. Imagine panning and scanning. Yes. Yes. Yep. Okay, Wang Jung. Yes, you saw me do it. Wicked. Gizmo. Open. Yes, it's got the O face. Very, very nice. Thank you, Simon. Okay. Very, very cool. Finch is asking if the stitching like photo merge. You know, not yes and no. I mean, if you've seen the way that some of those apps work, again, just because you're working in a true 360-degree domain, yeah, I mean, I guess there's some theoretical similarities, right? A little bit different. Also because we're talking about video as opposed to still frames. And the footprint, of course, is that much heavier, but really so cool, right? So VR, speed looks, white balance eyedropper, HSL secondaries, stock video, licensing right from libraries, filtering searches, ingest and proxy workflows. My God, this was 48 minutes. I mean, this is just some of the stuff coming to this next version of Premiere Pro. Okay, but friends, we gotta move on. We gotta move on. Ignorant Sloth, so excited for the new proxy process. It is super cool, super effective. What's 360 audio like? Well, that's where, see now, so when you start to talk about multi-channel audio, you know, this is where you start really talking about things like Dolby Atmos and some of the new things that Dolby are doing, which by the way have been supported in Premiere Pro. So going beyond 5.1, 7.1, 10.2, where you have all this new flexibility, you know, and that's something a little bit different just in terms of the composition and how you mix for those environments. And again, there are third parties that allow you to create some of those natively. Internally, we can build out 5.1 soundtracks for you, but you can take it even further once you start using some of those other things. Okay. So let me go ahead. I just opened up After Effects. Give it a second to load here. We are running some betas. Thank you for joining me again. I am Beetlejace. Please don't hesitate to follow me on my channel. And by the way, we will stop this stream in 10 minutes. So I'll actually stop it, and I'm going to come right back. Okay, right back. And we're going to spend the next 2 hours doing some other things. But the reveal is only 11 minutes more, but you will be able to watch the VOD immediately on demand here on Twitch. And this will also be published to the Adobe YouTube channel later today, as well as my YouTube channel. So you'll get to see it from a couple of different places. Okay, so a lot of exciting stuff in After Effects here. I'm really going to have to rush through some of this, but most of this was really based around performance. And you'll know if you've been an After Effects user. Quick show of ones or thumbs up in the chat. How many of you are using After Effects today? How do I do my work knowing these are coming? Al foot. Exactly. Oh, Pam is home in AE. Excellent. Yeah, ignorant. I wish the proxies were available to you now. Ah, Pam, you're too kind. The release date, so we're saying summer, this summer. So just a couple of months away. All right, one. Excellent. Look at this. Look at what's happening. Look at the interaction here. I love you all. This is what we love to see. All right. So you've been using After Effects. We got lots of AE users in here, right? You know that over the last few versions, we've done a lot to improve performance, playback, quality, right? Making it more real time, something that it's really never been, right? And a lot of that started with things like global performance cache and continued on when we talked about, when we added uninterrupted preview, which was just back in November. Well, we've taken it even a step further now, and we're happy to say that there's now a whole new playback engine. And this is, I'm still seeing ones coming in. All right, so true real-time preview of cache frames with real audio sync. Yes. So you can see I've got a little loop section here. Now this is kind of loud, and again, playing this kind of off of drives. I don't know how well you're gonna see it. Okay, but right away, cached frames, the audio kicks in, synchronized. Such a creepy, cool kind of thing here. Real-time audio sync, real simple, new playback engine. It's awesome. I mean, I don't know how else to tell you. You can see here, again, I'm caching this and playing back. The audio just comes in right away. So cool, so amazing. And you're gonna notice that as you're interacting, even inside the interface, because a lot of this is based around OpenGL, so things like scrubbing, working with complex masks. Let me go ahead and open up just another comp so you can kind of see what's going on here. So this one, if I just kind of show you this real quickly, let's go to 100% view, and there's some weird UI things in here, so you'll bear with me for a sec. So this is like a crazy rotoscoped, stitched comp that's got a lot of nested comps inside of it. And just to kind of show you even further, the camera view here, like exactly what's happening. Now watch as I'm scrubbing this through. Now you can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers of, in this case, 1080p. The camera's moving, all the video is moving, all these rotoed pieces are moving. Okay? And yes, Tomita, Mercury Transmit is still supported. Yes, yes, yes. Okay? It's freaking amazing. All right. All right, so you see all this going on. You can see me just scrubbing through this, how fast and fluid it is. Well, let's go even further here. You want to see how much roto is actually going on in here? So take a look at this. Look at all of these masks that we've got applied. And as I scrub through this surfer, by the way, in full quality, no less. All right? So you can actually see as I go to quickly play this back here with our cached frames. Again, using that global performance cache, boom, it's into real time almost instantly. But I mean, look at the complexity of these masks, and look at how, even before it was all cached, how I could simply scrub and move around, right? So much more fluid. And you're seeing more and more of this with every subsequent update to After Effects. Even the ability to bring in things like image sequences, okay? So again, a lot of this actually was based off of different image sequences. And if you've ever worked with image sequences in After Effects, particularly when you're working in 4K or greater, and you can see that this whole comp here is in fact 4K, you know, depending upon how many frames you're dealing with, and people are loving it, getting a lot of wows, the masks. That's more masks than Carnival. Unlimited power, says Penta Penguin. All right. Bringing in image sequences, right? Something that was kind of a little slow, a little painful before. All right, check this out. Let's go ahead and import. Let's bring in a new image sequence. All right, I'm going to bring in 2. Let's start with this surfer right here. This JPEG sequence, okay? Done. 355 frames, okay? And I'm going to bring in one more. Let's go to another one here. Image sequence. And go to this surfer roto. Okay. Let's open that. Okay. Instantaneous. All right, let's go to some of our comps here. All right, so I'm going to drag Surfer in here. Grab my Surfer Roto, and this is, I'm going to just do a little Luma mat on this. So once again, just in terms of performance and scrubbing around with this, I mean, you know, and again, I've got this Encoder res here, so you're not seeing this full quality, but this is coming off of a bootable disk on a bootable drive with 4K frames on a freaking laptop, and look at how quickly it's already going into preview, right? So much faster. You want that sound effect when I import? The person who masked that is still alive. You know, it's funny you mention that, because when we first introduced the Roto brush to kind of speed up that process, those are some of my exact thoughts, like, oh my God, you know, this is, as fast as we've made it, I mean, it's still like, you know, it can be daunting, but now we do everything so much faster, okay? So, sequence, image sequence import, unbelievable. Now this next one here, just very, very quickly, GPU accelerated effects. Okay, so here, oh, and I already brought in this other piece of video for you. Hold on, did I already correct that one? Yeah, sorry. Okay. So once again here, we've got some stock video. I've actually got a mirror effect applied to this. Okay, so that's all. That's how we're creating this effect here. But we've got two new effects in this next release that are GPU accelerated. The first one being Lumetri Color. Now in this build, I can't show you the performance of it. It's super amazing, but you'll notice a new GPU rendering dropdown here. If I just kind of zoom in and show you, you'll have the ability to force GPU or CPU or have it automatically select that. So GPU accelerated Lumetri Color and GPU accelerated Gaussian blur. So if I go ahead and turn this on, again, this is kind of using our uninterrupted preview. All right, I can start making adjustments to the blur. Just do some make it super, super blurry. And I can even turn it on, turn it off, right? And preview doesn't stop, right? Uninterrupted preview. So GPU accelerated Gaussian blur, GPU accelerated Lumetri Color. You know, so much work done under the hood to make After Effects that much more robust. All right. Now, this last thing that I'll show you here in AE, which, oh God, I've got to get to Audition. Okay, this is going to be a little bit over an hour because I haven't even gotten to Audition yet. New C4D export for animated text and shape layers. So, you know that we've had C4D Lite. Oh, and Simon Walker saying 4 CPU. Nice. Okay, yes, Grungy, I know. I'll go a couple minutes over. Hey, it's my channel. It's my time. We can take as much time as we want, right? Or it's actually the Adobe channel, but you know what I mean. We can make this a couple minutes longer. This is some basic animation done right here on the timeline, just using properties of some basic text, and we want to make this a bit more 3D, a bit more exciting. So we now have a new Maxon Cinema 4D exporter for animated text and shape layers, which you can then integrate with C4D to do amazing 3D motion graphics, keeping that animation, and just really a faster motion graphics 3D pipeline leveraging our Cineware panel. So what I can do here is I can simply take this comp as we see it, and I'm going to go up to File, Export, Maxon Cinema 4D Exporter, and we will call this, you can see I've got T1 through 3, let's call this one T4.c4d. Click Save on that. We're going to choose Extrude. All right. Let's go into this new blank comp here. Just going to twirl this up for a second, and let's go ahead and import that new C4D object that we just made. All right. There it is, number 4. Drag it down into the timeline. Okay. All right. And right away, you will see that now we've got this C4D object. I'm in software rendering mode here, and I'm also in half res. Okay, and it's got a little bit of 3D extrusion here, but we want to make this kind of even better, even more pronounced, okay? So here, now, using that same technique, I can simply Command E to launch Edit Original, which will bring me into Cinema 4D. All right. All right. How was all this masked? Cintiq and a roto brush? Finch, you know, I imagine for someone who's doing that level of rotoscoping, probably. I mean, they're artists, so yeah, I can't believe you would do that with a mouse. Although I have to be honest, I've seen some of my buddies. In fact, a friend of mine who's an Adobe employee who's called Magic Max, I've seen him roto things as complex. Actually, surfers, water skiers in Sweden, with a mouse on screen. I mean, it's just like shocking how amazing he is at it. But not so easy. So, okay, so what I want to do is just add a little bit of extrusion here. So I've grabbed the word wave. I'm just going to kind of make this very obvious so that you can see that the change has been applied. I'll do the same for form here. I'll just kind of adjust the extrusion height, all right? And because this is supposed to be kind of wavy, why don't we go ahead and grab something like wind, and we'll drag this onto wave. And let's just go ahead and adjust the amplitude a little bit and the frequency a little bit more, okay? Wind this back, start play. Okay, all right, now we've got some wavy, heavily extruded 3D text here in C4D. But remember now, what we've effectively done is established a dynamic or direct link, right? A pipeline between AE and Cinema 4D, because whatever we do here will now filter over to there. Now what's totally new in terms of the update, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and save the change I just made, and we can always go back to this. Let's go back to After Effects. The change is instantly applied, but check this out, right? Scrubbing through this now it's so fast. And if we actually go into final drafting mode, all right, once again, I'm just gonna hit my space bar to preview this. Look at how much faster, leveraging the Cineware panel, the updated Cineware panel, we can get into real time to actually see what we're doing, okay? D. Hoffman, you're asking, is there a way to force the light version to boot instead of the studio version? Yeah, that's a good question. Normally people wanted to know the other way, because if you install the full version, it will automatically see that upon doing a Command E. So, I don't know the way to reverse it to go back to light. It might be something as simple as at the OS level, just reassociating .c4d. In fact, that's probably how you would do it, just to reassociate .c4d with the light app. Although I don't even know if the app shows up as a separate installer or not. That's a good question. That's a good question for the, if you ping me offline, I'll find out how to do that. Certainly uninstalling the full version would do that, but you don't want to necessarily do that. Can you work with Maya instead of Cinema 4D? You can work with Maya instead of Cinema 4D, but you're not going to get this integration. This integration that you see here with the non-destructive real-time pipeline is only available between After Effects and Cinema 4D, okay? Using the Cineware panel. So pretty cool, awesome 3D motion graphics pipeline for animated text and vector shapes. And just to kind of show you here very quickly before we bounce over to Audition, kind of a finished version of this. Again, we did a bunch more things to this. We also used, because this has some additional animation and that flag waving effect on some of these shape layers here. All right, oh, and you're hearing the audio as it's as it's caching all these frames anew, although much, much faster considering we've got so many nested comps in there. We've also got some 16mm film grain overlay applied to that, some other creepy blur effects. And again, all of this sourced on top of that C4D file, which we can always go back to Cinema 4D, make modifications, and it'll update inside any of these nested timelines. Pretty awesome. We like that. Yeah, so D. Hofford, if you're teaching AE, I mean, so you're saying that you've got the studio version installed already on the machines? Yeah, I honestly, I don't know offhand. I'm sure there's a way to force, like I said, at the OS level perhaps, but I'm not really sure because I don't know if the installer is revealed itself for C4D Lite. So just if you send me a whisper, I can find out for you. I don't know if anyone in here in the chat can answer that for you. I'm not. Maybe Simon Walker may know if he's still in here. Okay. All right. System requirements, Rocksteady. Okay, so I'm just using a standard MacBook Pro here. 16 gigs of RAM. I've got the NVIDIA 750M card. So this is a 2-year-old MacBook Pro. Again, talking about, if you're working with proxies, I mean, the whole idea is it's a lightweight system. So you can be working on a Surface Book and get great performance. Obviously, like anything, the more RAM you've got, the more video card dedicated VRAM you have, the better your experience will be. but you don't need a powerhouse system. I mean, I always just show this. Okay, I'm 5 minutes over. We really got to get through to Audition here. You can see my spec right here, okay? Pretty sweet, all right? Okay. All right, so the last thing I'm going to show you for Audition here, very exciting. And this, again, speaks directly to something which we were just doing on Monday, working with audio against video. And how do we tweak a voiceover? How do we make voice and sound better? I'm an editor, or I'm a VFX or a motion graphics compositor. Audio's not my thing. Or maybe I do everything and I'm just not comfortable. I've never been really super comfortable with working with audio. Well, in the spirit of the Lumetri color panel, we're introducing something called the Essential Sound panel in Audition. So what you can see here is we've got a very large timeline that consists of a whole different series of sounds, sound effects, ambient noise, and voiceover. And we want to mix this. And maybe we're not a mixing engineer, but we want to feel like we have one in the room with us. So that's really where this sound panel comes into play. So once again, I'm going to choose the Edit in Audition Sequence option here to leverage Dynamic Link. Dynamic Link will non-destructively send the video from Premiere Pro to Audition, create the sequence with all of the elements broken out just as we see them here. I'm going to go ahead and click OK on this. It'll open up Audition if it's not already running. Okay. All right. I'm looking to see if I missed any questions. All right. Looks good. Audition is launching, hopefully in the background. There it is. Okay. All right. You're seeing our beta screen there. Sorry, I couldn't keep them all open at once today in these builds. All right. Rebuilds the session for us, and you can see the Essential Sound panel is already open here. Okay. So now, if I just go ahead and hit play on this, so it's really a remote area. Here's our video again, dynamically streamed, coming to us from Premiere Pro, just as we saw it moments ago. Now, as we look at the editor view, again, you'll see all the various tracks, and you'll see that we even have them labeled VO for voice, effects for effects, and then music and environments here at the bottom. So over in the Essential Sound panel, you'll see that we're really following this kind of what we're referring to as this DME workflow, or dialogue, music, effects, or in this case, it's kind of DMEA, dialogue, music, effects, and ambience. And let's say that I want to tackle something like the voiceover. I want to just fix, EQ, repair, compress, but I don't even know what I want to do. I just need to make it sound better. I can select one or multiple clips at a time, and I can assign it a mix type. And I'm going to tell the Essential Sound panel that this is all dialogue. And when I do that, now you'll eventually have some presets. They're not showing up in this build for me here. But one of the first things you can do is you can automatically unify the loudness. Now this is something I've talked about a lot. There are reasons why you would do this, perhaps maybe not in this mixing stage, but there are other times where you want to perform this operation, particularly just to kind of make all of a particular voiceover or something consistent, if nothing else in its peak level, if not actual loudness level. You can do that here. You can repair the sound, right? Very common for voiceover. Do you want to remove noise? Do you want to remove rumble or de-hum? So if you turn on something like reduce noise, what this actually does is it goes in and it begins analyzing the noise characteristics of all of your clips, and with a single slider, you can begin to denoise this. Now, I could play this for you. It's always hard to hear noise reduction over any broadcast. So what I want to show you more importantly is what's actually happening as you move the slider. Because here's the actual effect that's been added at the clip level, adaptive noise reduction. And as a novice user, just by pulling this simple slider, less or more, notice that it's dynamically adjusting all of the parameters inside that particular effect intelligently, independently, to give you the best kind of sound. What about something like rumble or hum? Okay, same thing. If I go into our FFT filter and adjust the reduce rumble, again, as I modify this slider, you can see that it's dynamically modifying that effect in real time. This would basically be hidden behind the scenes. You wouldn't otherwise see these things happening, but as you make those adjustments, as you make those changes, that's what's occurring. Now this one, of course, is probably number one and the most common, which is, oh, people are loving this. Is this just for music, real for Haze? No, this is for everything. So this is for audio for video, for dialogue, for mastering, for music, for 5.1 surround encoding, for any kind of audio encoding, multi-channel audio editing. Let's say we want to apply a compressor to this voiceover, right? I've done a whole series on compression. If I enable dynamics, this now adds the very somewhat difficult to use dynamics processor. And once again, just to kind of show you, to improve clarity, as I move the slider, it's dynamically readjusting the settings to compress that voice in a particular way. And if I just kind of let you kind of hear this for a second, let's solo the voice and we'll start adjusting dynamics here.
Recorded more than 4,500 hours and over 15,000 species in marine and terrestrial environments.
Okay. And we can go to something like EQ.
Environmental sciences that study
Vocal
the world
presence.
we see can gain a fuller understanding from what we hear.
Okay, we can adjust the presence
Habitats
in real
that
time.
look the same
Again,
may
it's
no longer
adjusting
sound the
our
same.
Real-time EQ. All right. And you get the idea. All right. Similarly, if we were to go down to effects, right, some of these other things here, and we denote these as sound effects, you get different things. You get loudness, but now you also get things like reverb or individual panning. Or if we go down to where we have some music, and if we select our music mix type, okay, now we can implement Audition Remix to dynamically recompose that music soundtrack. Rocksteady, perfect, yes. The Dutch HD, damn, Daniel, right? Heavens to Murgatroyd, CBR. Time Insanity Saver. Pam wants to use it right now. Yes. Low carbs. Yes. HS Pocket Mat. Penguins. What? Okay. So, again, remix to dynamically recompose. I could choose remix. It's affecting this clip down here. Currently, it's at 50 seconds. If I wanted it to be 30 seconds in duration, again, I can readjust the duration down here. And you can see, as you see with these little edit lines here, it's dynamically recomposing that, finding edit points, automatically crossfading very quickly. Similarly, if we've got ambience, we've got all this environmental sound here, and we want to really beef up the stereo width. So you'll see that you've got options here to not only add things like reverbs, we could add a little bit of room ambience, which again can kind of be outdoor ambience simulation as well, and increase stereo width. Right, and if you're listening in headphones, there's a lot of birds chirping right now. Yeah, you got me there, HS. All right? You're probably hearing the noise getting more stereo because it's just kind of ambient background noise at the moment. All right? But all of these things that you would commonly want to do, like, hey, I've got environmental sound. How do I make it bigger? Denoted as ambience. Oh, look, there's a stereo width control. Oh, look, there's a reverb or spatial control. Oh, look, there's a loudness control. And it gets even better, friends, because once you've done all this, now how do we get this back to Premiere? All right, and this is the last thing I'm going to show you before we stop the stream and I continue doing some composing and some other things. So up in multitrack, remember now I would typically send this back to Adobe Premiere Pro. But we've done a lot to bring the media encoder into all of these apps now, right? So no longer do you have to go back to Premiere, especially if picture is already locked. Now, directly from Audition, I can say File, Export, Adobe Media Encoder. Zzz, there. Choose the Adobe Media Encoder. Wait for a second while it connects with my Media Encoder here. And now all of the presets, everything that you have in Media Encoder, all the formats, all the format settings will be available to you here directly from Audition, so you don't have to go back, okay? You still can go back. That's why we have Dynamic Link, but you don't have to, okay? That's the idea. So again, all the various flavors and formats, everything from DNX HR, DPX, MXF OP1A, DCP, right? Everything. This is Media Encoder now inside Audition. So if we were to choose something like MXF OP1A, I'll just pull up again. You've got all your various gazillion presets here. Let's just use this XAVC because it was already here. What if you've got multi-channel audio? So you want to control routing and such. Now this is something which we still hear a lot. EQ Wizard. Yeah, very cool, man. But it's not just EQ, right? It's EQ, it's compression, it's limiting, it's ambience, it's loudness based on loudness standards. You can also change the routing options here very quickly right on export. So you can say, okay, yeah, I want the music to go to channels 1 and 2, or I want the master to go to 1 and 2. But I want the environments, I want all the environmental stuff to live in channels 7 and 8, okay? And I want all the VO, wherever there are VO tracks, those should be stereo 3/4. You get the idea, okay? So you have flexible, easy channel routing on export. And it's worth pointing out, so just because a couple people brought this up, with regard to essential sound, what if you do all this and you hand it off to someone like me? And I get it, and I'm going, I don't love the EQ that you used here. I don't love the, or maybe you're in a school or you're in a post-production house and you go, yeah, I want all my editors to use this, but can't I modify what like the minimum and maximums are? I don't want, you're automatically setting the parameters. Can I do that? Yes, you can. Because in Essential Sound, you'll see that, now this name will likely change. This is called Template Configuration View. And what this is going to allow you to do is actually do just that. So you'll see, like with regard to noise reduction, you can set what a minimum noise reduction slider would do and then set the maximum applied noise reduction. Or similarly with something like the de-esser, here's the settings for minimum, here's the settings for maximum. Or again, depending upon which particular effect or process you're working with here, different ones will have different capabilities for you, okay? So, amazing flexibility, amazing capabilities. This is essentially like the Lumetri panel, bringing the essential mixing techniques to new novice audio users to be able to very effectively mix and master and finish your audio for video, exporting directly through Media Encoder. It's also worth pointing out, because I'm already 17 minutes over, we also have direct Media Encoder export now through Character Animator. So Media Encoder being integrated even more and more, and don't forget, integrated at import and ingest into Premiere Pro. So all of this stuff that I revealed today and more will be showcasing all this week, coming starting Monday at NAB in Las Vegas. You can find more information about this stuff through the Adobe Twitter properties, so Creative Cloud, the proper Adobe one, blogs.adobe.com. If you go to the Creative Cloud channel, you can find short little movies about all these features and even other ones that I didn't get to. So much coming, right? And that's really the promise of Creative Cloud. Can you use VST with that, Reel for Haze? Absolutely. So again, if you build in certain presets to your effects, those VSTs will show up in there as well. Namely, you saw like some of the reverbs and things where I've built presets. So yeah, now again, these are, now if you're asking, let me rephrase that. Yes, of course you can use VST effects with this. The effects that we are using, however, for the mix, these configured mix types, these are native effects, right? By design, because if we were trying to point to a VST externally, not everyone's going to have that. So yeah, let me clarify my answer. If you're using Essential Sound with the predefined mix types, that's going to use all native effects because it has to work for everybody. You can still use VSTs, VST3s, and AU plugins on clips, on tracks individually, but the Essential Sound will always pull from native effects, okay? Rock on Midsummer. All right, Rocksteady. Thank you, Pam. All right. So did that answer your question, Real Haze? Cool. All right. All right, my friends. So that is really a very quick, very slick overview of all the various things that we've got happening here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to stop the stream. I'm going to come right back. And for the next hour and 40 minutes, I'm actually going to work on, we're going to compose gameplay. I've been watching a lot of gameplay vids. I noticed people want music for this. We're going to have this Twitch takeover in 2 weeks, showcasing all the apps, and I'll be working in some of these new apps as well. And I needed some newly composed music. So I'm going to be composing and scoring some Baroque and medieval style music in Audition coming in about 2 minutes. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for being part of this reveal. It was great to have all of you with us. Again, my name is Beetlejace. Please follow me here on Twitch as well, on my channel for more video and audio, always looking for requests, things to broadcast on my channel. And this video on demand will be available here on Twitch in its entirety as soon as I stop the stream.